Somewhere along the way, traditional sports tours like this quietly slipped out of the spotlight and adventure bikes took over. They're more practical, more comfortable, better on bad roads. Or at least that's what we've all been telling ourselves. Has the sports tourer been unfairly forgotten, and have BMW brought us a bike that reminds us what we're missing? This, of course, is the BMW R1300 RS, and over the last couple of weeks it's had me wondering if I've got some long-held assumptions that are not necessarily correct. If you watch the channel, you know that I ride an Africa Twin, and I've spent thousands and thousands of miles on adventure bikes and I absolutely love them. But jumping onto this did feel a little bit like stepping back in time, and it made me think, have a lot of riders been chasing the wrong bike? Adventure bikes give us the freedom and the capability to go anywhere, but how many of us actually do? I've toured in the UK and across Europe on an Africa Twin. I've ridden gravel roads and off-road sections, but if I'm honest, the overwhelming majority of the miles I've covered have still been on tarmac. A lot of people don't necessarily buy adventure bikes because they ride off-road, they buy them because they could. There's a big psychological difference. It's the same as 4x4s that never leave the road, sports cars that never see a track, and watches rated to 100-metre depths that never even see a swimming pool. We like capability. We like knowing it's there, even if we don't use it. But to be fair, of course, it's not all about off-road riding. Adventure bikes give you a commanding view of the road ahead. They're comfortable. They shrug off Britain's terrible road services. They're kinder on ageing knees and backs, and being sat higher often makes filtering through traffic feel less intimidating. Those are all genuine advantages. But if you're someone that in reality spends 99% of your time on tarmac, is a sports tourer the better tool? One of the common complaints I hear about adventure bikes is they're just too tall. Well, if you're going to have a ton of suspension travel, that just means the seat is going to have to naturally be higher. If you don't actually need that suspension travel, then something like this is going to be much easier to handle, and that seat is going to be much lower. Straight away, the first thing I notice is the riding position. I expected it to feel much more committed and aggressive than my Africa Twin, but actually it doesn't. Sure, it's different, but it's not worse. After a couple of 100 miles, I realised I'd stopped thinking about the riding position altogether, and that's probably the biggest compliment I can pay this bike. It simply disappears underneath you. And this was borne out in everyday use. Despite the bike's 245 kilogram curb weight, because it carries that relatively low, it's easy to manoeuvre, and slow speed turns are a breeze. Add to that, it's easy to flat foot for a lot of riders, and it doesn't offer that tippy toe dance you see occasionally on a GS. Although it has that big wide boxer engine, the bars are fairly narrow, so filtering is a breeze as well. Now, this is exactly the sort of road where you'd expect an adventure bike to have the advantage. Broken tarmac, mid-corner bumps, but here's the surprise. This BMW never feels out of its depth. No, it doesn't have the suspension travel of a GS, obviously, but there is enough compliance here that you're very rarely being bounced out of the seat, and you're never knocked off your line. Instead, it feels taut, controlled, and very composed. And when you get onto a piece of road that starts to flow, everything about this bike begins to make sense. For me though, the real star of the show is this boxer engine. It doesn't overwhelm you with aggressiveness. Instead, it delivers this wonderfully thumpy wave of torque from low down in such a smooth linear way that you'll find yourself surfing the engine rather than chasing the red line. Yes, it will happily get a move on when asked to, but its real talent is making effortless progress. This isn't necessarily the sort of bike that eggs you on to chase every corner. Instead, it settles into a rhythm that makes covering miles feel effortless. Onto motorways, and these are rarely anyone's favourite place to ride. But if you're heading somewhere interesting, they're often a necessary part of the journey. It's here that the R1300 RS reveals another side to its character. The riding position is relaxed enough that you don't arrive feeling folded in half. The screen takes a good amount of wind off your chest, and while the screen isn't electrically adjustable, which initially surprised me for this bike, it is simple enough just to lift up and down by hand. No motorcycle is ever going to make the M11 exciting, but the BMW does a remarkably good job of making it effortless, because that's really the point of a sports tourer. It's not about making every road thrilling, it's about making the dull roads disappear so you can enjoy the good ones when you get to them. Then there's their technology, and this bike is bristling with it, and I could make a standalone half-an-hour video just talking about that stuff, but you don't want to hear that. All you have to know is that it's there to do the stuff that you need when you need it. It doesn't interfere or hamper your day-to-day riding, and once you've mastered that magic wheel, you can set and adjust to your heart's content. The obvious argument in favour of a adventure bike is practicality. And yes, of course, you've got more luggage options with something like a GS, be that hard or soft panniers. But fit BMW's hard cases to the RS, and suddenly you've got more than enough capacity for a proper touring holiday. Now, if your weekends regularly involve green lanes, gravel tracks or genuinely rough terrain, then obviously it's an adventure bike every time. But if your riding looks a bit more like mine, long days on tarmac, weekend blasts around the countryside, touring holidays and the occasional less than perfect B road, I'm struggling a little bit to find what I'd miss. Every time I climbed back on after a coffee stop, I found myself looking forward to the next stretch of road. It's one of those bikes that quietly encourages you to keep riding. Perhaps that's what I'd forgotten about sports tourers. Not how fast or sporty they are, not how much technology they have, but just how effortlessly they cover ground while making every good road feel special. Whether that's enough to tempt you away from an adventure bike, well, only you can answer that. But after spending time with the R1300 RS, I can't help wondering if the sports tourer was never the motorcycle that disappeared. Perhaps it was simply the one we stopped noticing. And if it is an avenue that you want to pursue, then I don't think you can get much better than this R1300 RS. It is a truly exceptional sports tourer.